So a recap of day 3 of advanced integration here. We talked a lot about ribs today. And it just reminded me about how we have to treat the ribs before we really are concerned with shoulders or arms. Many times in treating clients, they come in with shoulder pain, but we talk about the ribs and we treat the ribs and get airflow into one side or both sides, whatever their need is, and we retest their shoulders, and their shoulder internal rotation improves, and I ask them, did we treat your shoulders specifically? And they think, no, we didn't really. So what did we treat? Well, we treated ribs and airflow. And I said, can you see why I care more about ribs than I do about shoulders? So it reiterated or reinforced in my mind this necessity for us to treat this rib cage that needs expansion, contraction, and twist. Twist is a big one. Again, relating it back to volleyball, I deal with a lot of volleyball players who talk about trunk rotation, particularly for attacking. Kids want to hit the ball harder. Or with older athletes, there is shoulder pain or there's back pain. And I see a lot of lack of trunk rotation. I see a lot of hyper extension of low backs in order to get that arm behind them in order to be able to swing at the ball. So this need for twist through the thoracic cavity, so we can prevent that overuse of the low back for twist, for rotation. When we get into this flat thoracic, and so my clients are the ones rounding out their backs doing core work, and it almost seems you want me to round out my back? Yeah, I want you to round out your back, but let's do it with exhalation. Let's do it with proper thoracic flexion as we exhale, not pull our head down and pull our shoulders up, but rather stay as tall as we can and breathe that air out and feel that compression coming down through the front of the thoracic cavity. When we're doing side planks, we're a little flexed and we're a little side bent. So I really don't like a straight side plank, feet on top of feet, and try, lining everything up straight. I rarely do that. I often do the top foot in front, just to give a little bit of that pelvis and lumbar twist towards the floor, and then maybe bring the arm up above to get some thoracic counter rotation through. And the hard thing about doing proper ab work, proper core work, is that exhalation. So in a front plank, in a side plank, people don't want to exhale. They want to hold their breath. So I've gone away from repetitions for core work and gone to straight breath work. So how long does it take you to take 5 slow breaths in this position? The weaker we are, the faster we're going to breathe, because we just can't stabilize. Our breath is going to be very small inhalations because we don't have enough counter strength with those abdominals to let the diaphragm pull air in. So it's a small inhale and it's a short exhale because we need that hyperinflation to create stability. So the stronger we get, the longer we breathe. And if we can breathe fully out in either of those plank positions, we really get a strong sense of these outer abs working to stabilize us. And then can you keep them stable to then breathe in? So for me, core work is diaphragm work, is core work, is diaphragm work, and it's the same. But again, that leads to this ability to twist through that thoracic cavity. And it's just so important. So I was reiterated with that today from the instructors. It was, again, just another fun-filled day of a ton of information, but information that I need to be reminded of. So especially when I'm getting into my clients who, have these ongoing issues. Again, like what I talked about from my summary of day 2 is this need to go back and retest. So I need to not be afraid to retest internal rotation or horizontal abduction or cervical axial rotation, because that gives me information to know what to then do next. And then it really helps, it helps the client understand what it is that they are like, what it is that we're doing, like why are we still doing this, or why are we working on this particular exercise or position or posture. um, so it was a wonderful day to just remind me about ribs, and then worry about arms second. And then for me as a strength coach, kinesiologist, how do we cue all this stuff in a more strength and conditioning type situation? So um, kind of bringing in the cue of hands. What are our hands doing when we're holding on to a weight, or when we're throwing a ball, like a medicine ball or something, right? What are we doing with our hands can really help to, am I reaching with that hand? Am I pulling with that hand? Because the hand sort of helps give guidance to this reach and this twist that we always try and get. So again, it's a day that I'm gonna, or content that I'm gonna come back to and think about, and just figure out how I'm going to do a better job to help my clients. And actually, this understanding of this left posterior mediastinum. So think of that left sort of low mid back, and that need for that to go backwards, and how that's not the same as lateral right apical expansion. So how do I, as a kinesiologist, sometimes working as a clinician, but also sometimes working as a strength coach, like how do I sort of cue those things, and which clients need those? And then just how do we tack on top of that? So once we've got that rib cage expansion, then what? Okay, how do we use these serratus anterior to help push and pull us from side to side? And then how do we use these mid and low trap in particular? Most people don't need a cue for their upper trap because they have really tight upper traps, especially on the right side. But how do they feel that like scapular compression on their back? How do they feel the weight of their arms again? I like doing farmer carries, 2 heavy kettlebells or dumbbells in their hands, but again, not at the expense of the head that's getting pulled down. Those kettlebells maybe make the neck feel heavier if the head is sort of pulled down and the shoulders get rolled forward. But then also not walking with this huge arch in the low back, because again, that's just really loading up, like, putting those kettlebells in the hands have just loaded up that lumbar spine. But how do we get to this, like loading up the hands to feel this weight of the shoulders, like pressing down, on that rib cage? And then how are we using air pressure within our rib cage cavity, within our thorax? How are we using air pressure to sort of harmonize those ribs and that scapula together? So, air pressure is inside out, and then when we grab something, when I put that weight in the hands, that can be that scapular compression down, but we want to balance the two. Just really, again, what a filled day of information. So this of course has been such a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful review. So again, I'll always say thanks to the Institute, and all the instructors for just for going over these things, and for teaching them at an advanced level. I mean, the course is advanced integration, so I appreciate when you push us mentally to think about these things at a higher level, at a more advanced level. Like that's what we need. I won't grow if I'm not pushed to think about things differently. So when we are pushed to these advanced levels, we're forced to think about things differently. So I appreciate that, because again, it helps me grow, and in turn, it just helps me serve my clients better. Which again is my primary goal, is how do I give my clients what they need and what they want, to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. So again, if that's just regular daily living without pain and tension, or whether that's a professional athlete that wants to, sustain their career, further their career, whatever it is that they want to achieve, this stuff sort of helps just guide me to that. So thanks again. Looking forward to day 4 and what I have to learn on that day. So really appreciate it. Thanks again.